We're going to be talking today about Sophocles' Electra in the context of these colliding value systems. Some of you know this play very well. Some of you maybe not so well. What I'm going to do is talk about several different versions of the story that's included in the Electra play that you all have performed and are reading, Sophocles' Electra. The story is an old one, the Electra story, we can call it. The Electra story has been around for the Greeks going back to Homer's Odyssey, which many of you have been reading, I know, as well. So we're going to look at Homer's Odyssey, a version of the Electra story by Aeschylus, another Greek tragedian. We'll look at a version of the Electra story by Euripides, and then we'll look at some interpretations of what Sophocles did with the play, and then end up with something that's a lot more contemporary, a play from 2003. But what are these value systems that are colliding here? On the one hand, you've got within the play the idea of revenge killing. And we'll look both through, I've got a genealogy here I'll bring up next in case you're not familiar with all the names. There's revenge killing. If somebody kills a member of your family, you kill that person. This is in a pre-civil sort of pre-judicial society, heroic age, mythic age. And that's perfectly fine to kill somebody if they've messed with your family. The problem is, what if killing that person involves killing your mother? There's a difficulty. Yeah? And there's another sort of collision of value systems that Sophocles' play brings out that is really where this title comes from, I think, the colliding of value systems. Within Sophocles' play, it comes up in that conversation between Chrysothemis and Electra, which they will perform for us now. No, I won't ask you to do that, no. Where, if you remember, Electra is trying to talk her sister into taking revenge, performing a killing. This is the scene late in the play, right? And Electra has this crazy plan. Let's kill Aegisthus. And Chrysothemis says, but we're just women. What can we do? It's against people will stop us. How can we go on with this? I mean, and this is these value systems of doing, on the one hand, what you think is the right thing to do, and on the other hand, what you think you can do, or what's legal to do. I could ask you all, if anybody in here has ever broken the law, think about it. Don't tell me. Just think about it. And was there a reason for that? Are you proud of that? Yeah, I got stopped just south of Dyersburg on the way here, but I was able to talk my way out of a ticket. I can tell you that story. But that's the breaking the law that I did. But let's look at some of these versions and see how these value systems come out and the kind of collisions we see with the Electra story. But just so everybody's on the same page, we're dealing here with what's often called the House of Atreus. We could go back further to Tantalus and Pelops, and there's a mess. Tantalus from whom we get the word tantalized, because he's down in the underworld he's there now being eternally punished for trying to feed his son to the gods. But where we're dealing with is the lower half of this genealogical chart, Atreus, the House of Atreus. When our story, our Electra story starts, Agamemnon has already gone off to fight at Troy. The leader of the Greek force is going to the Trojan War. In order to get his fleet to sail to Troy, what did he have to do? Sacrifice. Sacrifice is a nice way to put it, yeah. You could say murder, kill, slaughter. His daughter, Iphigenia, if I was better at PowerPoint, I would put an X over Iphigenia right now. She's gone. He had to sacrifice Iphigenia in order to go to the Trojan War. He's off there for 10 years, successful, winning the battle anyway. Comes back, and Clytemnestra is waiting for him. Clytemnestra then kills Agamemnon. Clytemnestra, working together with Aegisthus, so we can now cross Agamemnon off. This is just getting all the names out here, okay? Then we're going to go back and look at it. Leaving then this next generation, Electra, Orestes, and Chrysothemis, to try to figure out what to do next. And that's where our Electra story picks up, with those three remaining children trying to decide, what do we do? It's not a given that they're going to take the side of their father. I mean, their father killed their sister, right? But they have decided that they're going to, at least Electra and Orestes certainly, they're going to take the side of their father and gang up on their mother, Clytemnestra, as well as this guy, Aegisthus. And you can probably work it out. Aegisthus and Agamemnon are cousins? Yeah, okay. We're all in the family here. Oh, look at that, there's Pylades. Okay. The Electra story in Homer's Odyssey, and it's a misnomer to call it an Electra story in a way because she doesn't appear. Electra's not there. So we're in book 3 of the Odyssey when Telemachus is traveling around trying to find out some information about Odysseus, and he ends up at the palace of Nestor. And Nestor talks about what was going on. He's been back home for a while, right? And most of the Greek heroes have already come back. And this is what Nestor tells Telemachus. Would somebody like to read? Maybe. No, wait, when we get to the acting parts, somebody can read out some of the parts. But I'll read this. While we, Nestor's an old guy, he's talking about what happened. While we fought and labored at Troy, the layabout, Aegisthus, sat safe at home, seducing Clytemnestra, noble wife of Agamemnon, and seized control of rich Mycenae, where he reigned for 7 years. But in the 8th, Orestes returned to kill his father's murderer. Then he celebrated the funeral of clever, scheming, cowardly Aegisthus, whom he had killed, and his own hated mother. So here in this image, we see Orestes killing Aegisthus, and we assume this is probably Clytemnestra back here. How is this different from Sophocles' version? Yeah, Clytemnestra dies first, and who gets the blame for killing Agamemnon here? It's Aegisthus, yeah. Whereas in Sophocles' version, he's just sort of an afterthought. Aegisthus isn't here, is he? No. Good, we can say all the bad things about Aegisthus we want. Yeah, he's the villain. Yeah, this is the blame goes on to Aegisthus. Clytemnestra was used by Aegisthus, seduced, and led to the killing of Agamemnon. And so it's the killing of Aegisthus that really matters in this story. Why is this story even brought up in the Odyssey? Some of you have read this. Anybody have any thoughts? Yeah.
As a further plot point for Odysseus not trusting his wife and family when he gets home.
Yeah, exactly. He sees Agamemnon down there in the underworld, and Agamemnon says, look what happened to me. Don't let that happen to you. But even earlier, like here, when Telemachus is hearing this story, Telemachus is being told this story. What would you say? Look what Orestes did. Orestes went back and took vengeance on those people who were messing with his family. So what about you, Telemachus? Can't you be like Orestes and do this? So it's the story being used for something very different. It's being used for yes, warning Odysseus when it gets to that point, but here early on, trying to build up the courage of Telemachus to be like Orestes. Go back and, it's not your father's murderer, but go back and take care of all those suitors, run them out. The Electra story and Aeschylus's libation bearers. So 458 BCE, so this is earlier than Sophocles' version. By the way, the people sitting in the play, in the theater at watching Sophocles' Electra, they knew these stories, they knew these versions. This was all running around in their heads. 458 BCE, the trilogy by Aeschylus, the Oresteia. It starts in the first play, Agamemnon gets killed. Agamemnon and the prize that he brings back from Troy. Anybody know who that was? He brought back with his this is the way women are treated. You said it.
I don't recall her name.
It does, Cassandra. Yeah, so the two of them are killed at the end of Agamemnon. Then in the libation bearers, the second play, this is really our Electra story. This is the one that is very close to what Sophocles does. But there are some differences. This is the encounter between Clytemnestra and Orestes. Can we have you all can read it from there. Clytemnestra isn't here, is she? I don't see Clytemnestra. Okay, you're Pylades, you get a line. Good. All right. All right. Is Orestes here? No. All right. How about you get to be Clytemnestra? You're the attendant. Yes. So you finally get lines. Yeah. There you go. And Electra, you can be Orestes. Okay. Okay. Go.
No, my dear perfect Aegisthus, love this man? Then share his grave.
Wait, my child, my son, have you no feelings?
Pylades, what should I do? How can I kill my own mother?
And what then becomes of the oracles of Apollo? Better be hated by every man on earth than hated by the gods.
Your wise words have won me over, Pylades.
Well done. I should have set this up. I was so excited for you all to read it. I forgot to say. So, of course, the corpse of Aegisthus is lying there. Right, yeah. That's why she's saying, my dear brave Aegisthus gone. Yeah, you love this man, then share his grave. And in these images, yeah, so here you can see, here is Orestes coming after Clytemnestra. Orestes coming after Clytemnestra. So maybe Electra following along behind. She does play a role in this. She wasn't in the Odyssey. She does play a role here, trying to build up his courage, get him going. Here she is as he's killing Aegisthus. Look who's up there in the corner of this vase painting up here. Can anybody see what that person has that's unusual? Snakes. Anybody know who that might be? It is a divinity. It is a deity, but it's a nemesis, a goddess of vengeance. Yeah, but one of the Furies, one of these chthonic deities, a god not from Olympus but from down in the earth, who takes vengeance on those who shed kindred blood. She's just waiting there to come after Orestes. The play, the libation bearers ends with Orestes seeing things. He's seeing these spirits. He's seeing these spirits of vengeance coming after him. Or is he just gone mad because he's just killed his mother? However you want to say, they do appear in the flesh, these spirits of vengeance, these Furies, in the third play. But in this play, we're left wondering, what is the feeling about this killing of Clytemnestra? Clytemnestra is trying to stop him, and I didn't give you the whole dialogue here. I mean, she bares her breast and says, "Can you kill the mother who nursed you?" Electra, no, she's not in this. Orestes has real hesitation, and that's why he turns to Pylades. And Pylades reminds him there's divine sanction for this. You got to do what the gods tell you to do. Earlier in the play, Orestes has told us, Apollo told me to do all this or else these terrible things would happen. He does it because the gods tell him to do, but then there are these goddesses of vengeance who come after him. What's right? What's wrong? Well, in the third play, there is a trial. There's a trial scene. Orestes goes on trial, and he gets off. But it's not all happiness and light there. Well, I won't go into that, but there's questions about the guilt of Orestes. Is it appropriate to kill his mother? What does it leave him feeling like? We have to move on from Aeschylus. What about in Euripides? Let's see, now we need a chorus. Should we have a different Orestes? Now, here, this is a play that's actually called Electra, okay? We have a chorus, yes. Where are our chorus members? Okay, can you all read in unison? Okay, you can do it. So then we need an Orestes. Let's have okay, good. You'll be Orestes. All right, good. And then we need an Electra. Somebody else who hasn't read yet. I'm looking over to this side of the room. You want to do it? Okay. Wait, but aren't you in the chorus? No, that's right. Okay, good. All right, where are we in the play? This is, it's much like Sophocles' Electra in that Orestes has come back. There has to be a recognition scene. But the question is, what is the feeling about the activity that they take part in? How is this killing of the mother presented here? Now, in Sophocles' Electra, what they did was just go inside the house and kill her, right? In this version of the play, Electra is living in a shack out in the country somewhere, and Clytemnestra has actually come to her house in order to celebrate the birth of her child. It's all a ruse. It's all a lie. The birth of her child, Electra's child. Yeah, yeah. Electra has claimed that she got pregnant and had a child, even though well, we won't go into all that, but so Clytemnestra is doing the right grandmotherly thing. She's coming out there to the house to see this baby, and she goes inside. Orestes is waiting inside. He kills her, and then he comes out, and that's when this scene. So what happened in there? Where's Orestes? Yeah, go ahead.
She screamed and stretched her hand towards my face. My son, oh pity me, my son. She clung to my face and my arm dropped with the sword. How could your eyes dare to watch her blood as she fought for her breath and died there? I hooded my eyes with my cloak, and blind, I took the sword and sacrificed my mother, sank steel to her neck.
I urged you on. I touched the sword beside your hands.
Shroud my mother's dead flesh in my cloak.
I wrapped her close in the robe, the one I loved and could not love.
Aren't they thrilled with what they've done? No. This is a very questionable sort of thing, and we're left at the end of this play wondering if we've got these value systems colliding. Was it right to kill their mother? They have some real doubts about the whole thing. Sophocles. Some responses to Sophocles' Electra. Now, I could ask you all, whether anybody in this who's seen the play or has been working with the play has any sympathy for Clytemnestra. We could actually do a show of hands. Was it, or maybe not. Was it right to kill was it right for Electra and Orestes to kill Clytemnestra or not? With whom are you sympathetic? I ask that question. I'm not asking for a show of hands because it's been interpreted in so many different ways through the ages. We have this reference in Suetonius' Life of Caesar, Julius Caesar, that at the funeral of Julius Caesar, there was a quotation of a Latin version of Sophocles' Electra in which some of the passages were read that called for vengeance. Julius Caesar has died. We've got to do like what Electra and Orestes did. We've got to go after the murderers. There has to be vengeance, suggesting that it was all a good thing, all this murdering. 1693, there was a production of the play that was, shall we say, adapted or altered because the sensibility at the time was that it's just impossible to accept the fact that somebody could kill their mother. So yeah, we have to keep it as Sophocles has it. Clytemnestra has to die, but really what happened, Orestes was going after Aegisthus and he just sort of slipped, and the killing his mother was a mistake. That's the only way it can be acceptable to us, because killing your mother is such an awful idea. There was a presentation, there was a version of this play in 1972 in Greece. There had been it was in the late 60s, there was a coup in Greece of a bunch of right-wing military men that overthrew the government. It was supported by the United States, by the way. The CIA was involved. But there were these right-wing, the colonels, a junta, in charge, and this play was put on as a way of showing how individuals can fight against unjust rule. Electra as a symbol of the individual who stands up against laws, rules that are keeping her down, oppressing her. Not so much about the matricide at all, but the idea that I know what's right, I don't care what the laws are. Now, I'm going through this fast. Stop me if you have questions. Okay. More recently, the tendency has been to see the so-called pessimistic view that we shouldn't be so pleased with the idea of Electra and Orestes killing their mother. In other words, going back to something like that 17th century idea, we just can't stomach the idea. And what Sophocles is very subtly doing is suggesting that they are wrong to do it. The play can be interpreted that way. The play can be played that way. I put up here some images of different productions through the ages that I think what they do nicely, and what your production did so nicely, was to contrast Electra and Clytemnestra on the stage. But you can clearly see which one is Electra and which one is Clytemnestra. So Electra, maybe you could do something with your hair tonight, you know. No, but look at this Electra. Yeah, she's had a rough time. But Electra has gone through a lot. and Clytemnestra, on the other hand, is the queenly person. But these are just a few of the various interpretations of this play about the ways that you could see this difficult situation with what these people are confronting. Now, I just want to finish with this. This is a play, Melora, by the playwright Yael Farber, who's a South African. We've traveled quite a distance. This is a play that was written in 2003, first published in 2008, and it's set in South Africa. It's set in the post-apartheid moment after, say, in the late 90s. Now, I know not everybody knows about the history of South Africa here. Previous to, say, 1996, South Africa was ruled by an apartheid system where every individual had to carry a card that showed what their race was. And people were racially divided. And the majority of black and colored people were being oppressed terribly by the minority white people. College campuses, I don't know what it was like on Mississippi State, but there was a huge movement on college campuses to oppose that apartheid system by asking the U.S. government to divest in any sort of financial support of the South African government. I mean, at the University of Missouri, there were shanty towns set up, and this was a great moment of students thinking they knew what was right as opposed to what others in power were doing. Anyway, the name Nelson Mandela might mean something to you. He was in prison for decades under this apartheid system. He was finally released and made president of South Africa. The end of the apartheid regime, and there was a fear, a concern that all of a sudden there would be retribution. I mean, after all, this white minority had been so terribly oppressing the black majority for so long. Now, all of a sudden, the black majority was in political power. What are they going to do? Instead of widespread violence, there was the institution of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It was set up by Nelson Mandela with Desmond Tutu, an Episcopal bishop, Anglican bishop, in charge. And the idea was to get people talking to each other so that they wouldn't kill each other. They could talk to each other and maybe not forgive each other, but at least arrive at some sort of reconciliation. And this play, what this play does is to set up the story of Electra in the context of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So, this is the chorus. The chorus consists of these women, I think maybe there's one man here, who come out, just as the chorus did in your production. The chorus came up through the audience. The chorus coming up to the stage. What does that do when the chorus comes? Why does the chorus do that? Come up from the audience like that? What? Where are you? I can't. Yes, you're the people. Yes, you're representatives of the community. You're coming up out of the community. I thought it was a great touch in your production. And that's what they do. They come walking through the audience and they sit up here. What you can't see in this image is that there are tables set up. There's one here and there's one here. And Electra is over here and Clytemnestra is over here. And the casting directions call for Clytemnestra to be white and all the other actors to be black. And it's a recreation of this Truth and Reconciliation Commission in that Electra is accusing Clytemnestra of all the things she's done, bringing it out and see how Clytemnestra responds. In the course of the play, there's a reenactment of Clytemnestra killing Agamemnon. There's a reenactment of things that have happened in the past. And then we see Orestes arriving. Orestes comes back. Orestes returns. And that's when things get really interesting. There's a recognition scene. Everybody with me so far? You see what I'm saying about this? Okay. I have to read some of the lines. So Orestes, okay, he's killed Aegisthus. Who cares? Aegisthus, he's a villain, right? He's the bad guy. The hard part is killing your mother. He kills Aegisthus. He brings the heart of Aegisthus to Electra. Shows a little bit of regret, but then Electra says to Orestes, And what this play does is take a lot of lines from these various Electra plays and Electra stories that we've been talking about. It's not from any one version. She says, famous spirit of revenge, you have done your ancestors proud. And then Orestes, that I don't know what you call that thing, a mattock. Orestes now has it in his hands. He approaches Clytemnestra with it. He's coming at her with this axe, this mattock. Electra is egging him on. Orestes raises it over his mother's neck, and then he says this, I cannot shed more blood. There's still time, sister. Walk away. Rewrite this ancient end. I'm tired of hating. Everybody's going to get along? No, Electra says, my father's blood will be paid back here tonight. I am from the house of Atreus. I will do what must be done. She grabs the axe from Orestes, and she goes after her mother, Clytemnestra. She's got the axe over Clytemnestra's neck. When who should intervene? The chorus. All these people have been sitting back here singing. They come racing up, and they grab the axe out of Electra's hand, and they stop her. And everybody just sort of sinks down on the stage. Clytemnestra has a wonderful concluding lines. She says, it falls softly. She thought she was going to die. She's moments away from death. She says, it falls softly, the residue of revenge, like rain. And we, who made the sons and daughters of this land servants in the halls of their forefathers, we know we are still only here by grace alone. And so the play ends. Very differently from the way Homer, Aeschylus, Euripides, Sophocles, very differently from the way it's done. Why did she do that? This is something we can do with our contemporary playwrights that we can't do with Aeschylus and Sophocles and Euripides. We asked her, why did you do this? And she says, I made the work. She says, I did it in the context of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. She said, I made the work out of a sense of bewilderment that anybody could have that level of spiritual, philosophical sophistication, that is, in order to forgive somebody, as happened in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. I couldn't believe anybody could do that, because I know I wouldn't. If somebody touched my child, I know immediately what my base instinct is. I would kill them. I was moved to create a piece that could express the miracle of that period in South Africa's history and how it shined a light on what could be a real way forward for the rest of the world. Restorative as opposed to retributive justice. She goes on to talk about how South Africa, the fact that the country did not descend into violence, could be a model for other countries. And so she wanted to use this ancient play as a kind of, encouragement to others. We don't have to do things as they've always been done. We don't have to rewrite the play in the same way that it was always done. We can make it better in the end. There can be some cooperation. So I'll end there and take questions if you have any.
Questions, comments?
Yes.
I'm actually curious. So, if Clytemnestra were to go to Electra and apologize, do you think the story would have changed?
Yeah. I mean, apologize for
Like
killing her father. Yeah. She doesn't even apologize in this version. And this, okay, I'm going to answer that in the context of Truth and Reconciliation, as I understand it. Maybe some of you know it better than I do. The idea was for people to admit what they had done. Reconciliation does not necessarily involve forgiveness, but bringing out into the open the things that you've done, owning up to the things that you've done. If Clytemnestra had owned up to Electra, she does, doesn't she, in the play? Doesn't Clytemnestra do that in the play? I killed him. I did it. But what does she follow that up with?
I was right to do so.
Do what?
That she was right to do so.
She was right to do it. I had justice on my side. So an apology would require her to say, I did it and I was wrong. Right? That's what you're getting at, yeah. Could Clytemnestra ever do that? I don't know. And if she did, would Electra accept that? I don't know. I think that's why this version of the play is so extraordinarily different, because it's hard to imagine that happening in Sophocles' version, isn't it? I mean, what do you think? She wouldn't.
I feel like Electra would probably still hold on to that grudge.
Yeah. I mean, this is what Electra has been, I don't know, it's what has kept Electra going for 10 years or something. Can't she just give it up so quickly? She couldn't give it up here until people actually grabbed the axe out of her hands. So maybe that's the answer. It's just too hard to do. Yeah. What else? Yeah, Matt.
Thank you very much. I was just wondering, Electra, I guess, she would have been, like Agamemnon would have gone away for 10 years to fight at Troy. So I find it interesting that she's so attached to her father, who was presumably away for a huge period of her life. I mean, do we have in different versions of the story, do we know how old Electra was when Agamemnon went off to Troy?
I don't know. Yeah. How old? She was older than Orestes, right? Because so she sent him off into safekeeping. I don't know, Mary. What do you think? Let me bring you into this.
She has to be younger than Iphigenia, since Iphigenia is the one who's going to get married to Achilles.
Yeah. So somebody of marriageable age is 15.
So I'm guessing 12.
Yeah, maybe. But it is a question. Why? And we can say, well, this is the way the story goes. Why is she so attached to her father and not to her mother? It's not a given. And Clytemnestra asked her that. Why weren't you upset when he killed Iphigenia? Yeah, it's just not the way the story goes. Yeah.
Have there been interpretations that call into question Agamemnon's role in killing Lycurgus?
Versions that call into question Agamemnon's role in killing Iphigenia. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mean, even in Aeschylus's version, the first play in the trilogy, when there's sort of a flashback to what he's doing, and everybody's all happy and rainbows and light and all that, but then Iphigenia is brought to the altar to be sacrificed, and then she looks around at all the people she knows, pleading not to be killed, but he gags her on the altar, and then the chorus says, "I can't even tell you the rest." It sounds pretty awful. It sounds pretty awful what Agamemnon did, and the chorus in that play then is kind of aware of the fact that there's going to be some retribution. Now, you all know the story of Abraham and Isaac, the father who's going to kill. It's in a Bob Dylan song, Route 66, but he's going to kill his son, and the son is saved at the last minute. There are a lot of versions where Iphigenia is saved at the last minute. She's not actually killed. Does that remove any of the guilt from Agamemnon? No, not necessarily. He was going to kill her. Yeah. So it's questionable. And there are modern versions of that story too that really call into question what he does. Yeah. Why didn't the Furies go after Agamemnon for shedding kindred blood?
He's divinely ordained.
Do what?
That God asked for it, right?
Yeah, but God asked Orestes to kill Clytemnestra. Yeah. No, I don't think there's a good answer. The story wouldn't work if they did. We just sort of glide over that. I don't know. What else? Yeah.
I think the intervention of the chorus of the people of the community is really interesting in this context because it implies maybe a group responsibility to work things out. And I think there are a lot of modern instances and discourses going on right now that call into question how much of a bystander can you be before you have to intervene. I just want to know your thoughts on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think absolutely, and I think that's what she was trying to get that across in this context. That it takes the community. There might be individuals who will have these very passionate and dangerous kind of impulses, but let's hope for better coming from the community, as happened, in fact, through the whole of this commission, this Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So now, what does that mean for you now? And that's why I think one of the reasons this whole series is so interesting, values systems colliding. I mean, there are issues now, I don't know how it is on this campus, Well, the big one right now in Missouri, there were just laws passed about health care for transgender individuals. And there was a big protest on campus. When do you say, okay, that's the law, that's the way things are, or when do we oppose things? When do we stand up against it? And how do you know when to do it? Isn't Chrysothemis reasonable? Chrysothemis is really reasonable in Sophocles' Electra. We're just women. What can we do? This is the law. We can't do anything about that. I mean, honestly speaking, how many of us would risk our lives for something that we think is right? I think most of us would be Chrysothemis rather than Electra, and just go along. That's why Electra gets the play named after her. She's the hero. She's the outlier, the unusual one. But it's a dangerous position to do that. I mean, it's hard to know when you do that. John Wilkes Booth, when he shot Abraham Lincoln, you remember what he said when he jumped down onto the stage? Anybody know? Yeah, sic semper tyrannis, thus always for tyrants. He thought he was doing a great thing. Yeah, sure, it was killing a president, but wasn't he helping the world? Well, yeah. You got to be careful with these things. So it's a hard question. You know, when do you go against authority? When do you think what you think is right is better than what everybody else is telling you is right? I think those are the kinds of questions that are brought up here. Yes, Dr. C.
Put you on the spot here. Since we are thinking about foundations
Yes.
and the classic period, in the questions that you just listening to, so help us now with these young, wonderful students that we have at the Honors College about decision making and when do they actually take that step that's been gnawing at them and so forth. What can we use from the rule breaker in Electra to today abiding by the rules?
Yeah.
I guess we have to look at the consequences as well and how it might affect our lives, present tense.
This is what your parents were afraid of. That you would go off to college and you would be all turned against all the values that you were raised with, and we're indoctrinating you into breaking the rules, right? No, not at all. That's not the point. I mean, I think Sophocles is raising those issues. Yeah, consequences for Orestes, and we saw with all those Furies. You know what? I'm not going to answer that except to say that it's an interesting question. No, I think that's how about that? Is that a dodge? No, I think that's why this is such. That's why some of these works. I mean, many of you have been reading the Odyssey. You're reading these books in the quest. There's no easy answer in any of these. What these plays do is they raise these questions. One thing that happens in the ancient world, at least, when somebody goes against the established order, when they're breaking the rules, one of the things that they definitely have to have on their side is some sort of divine sanction. How do you get divine sanction? I mean, these days, it's people claim they're hearing the voice of God, and they get treated a little differently. But how do we know? We don't know. But I think we need to ask. Don't go questioning every rule, every law. But if something is that meaningful to you, yeah, maybe it's something you need to think about. I think that's what these plays help me, please.
I don't want to touch that one.
Yeah.
I'm curious, I haven't seen the South African version, but it seems that it complicates this whole question of values, because it's not just about values anymore, it's about what's practical, what's feasible. Because, this Truth and Reconciliation Committee was created, to get people talking. That's true. But the reality was the Afrikaners controlled the military, they controlled the means of production, they controlled the diamond industry.
Yep.
It's in your best interest not to kill them or try to kill them.
Yeah.
Because if you try to kill them, then that's not going to go well for you.
Absolutely.
So there's a practical political necessity behind all this. So I would argue that it's not really primarily about values.
Yeah. And that's certainly the realistic, the on the ground, absolutely the way that the reason there weren't these mass murders, mass slaughters, it wouldn't have worked. She is, so what she's doing is taking that situation, hang on just a second. She's taking that situation and twisting it to make it into I think what she's trying to do is make it into a question of values, and presenting the idea of reconciliation as something that, this is a play, this is art, this is not connected to the diamond mines. You don't buy it. Yeah. That's okay. But do you see what I think she's taking a real life incident and bringing together these disparate elements of the Electra play and putting it into this Truth and Reconciliation Commission and trying to see some way that they speak to each other in a way that might raise questions for us. So yeah, it distorts the historical reality and economic reality in those ways. Wait, was it you, Chrysothemis, with a question? Yeah.
Well, can't we make the connection that what he's raising is kind of what Chrysothemis argues in the first place?
That it's, okay, let's be reasonable, let's be realistic. Adults say that a lot, don't they?
The difference between justice and revenge. Orestes was the rightful king. Even Aegisthus calls him king. Let me see my king's face at the end when he thinks Orestes is dead. So truly is the death of Clytemnestra even necessary for justice or balance to be restored in Mycenae?
Yeah. Wait, we had a comment over here. No, I think that's very good. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say I agree with you, Dr.
Schenker, yeah.
More than I agree with Dr. Schaefer in this instance, because sorry, Dr. Schaefer.
You two deal with that.
I feel like there's more of an emotional grounding in this than a purely economic motivation. You can't write a play purely based around, the diamond industry is crap, kill everybody. So let's have a reasonable sit-down discussion about what we should do. You can, but it's not a great play. It's kind of boring. I feel like by exploring the emotional aspects of this oppression, we have a more powerful and more meaningful play than we would if we wrote about why should we kill the diamond industry.
Well said. I don't know where to go next. Wait, we haven't heard from, yes, Clytemnestra's attendant. Yeah, go ahead.
So my understanding as far as these kind of plays in the Greek world is that they function very similar to our almost Marvel and DC aspects of building a mythos and a character and continuing world across a long time, a lot of life. And oftentimes when we read old scholars' antiquities works, we attribute a whole lot of weight and value to them that can distort our impressions. To me, would it also be fair to say that in plays like Electra and everything else drawn from the Odyssey, that you could view it as a form of entertainment first, and then that entertainment value, and of course there's lots and lots, everyone's seen enough Marvel to know there's this quantity over quality, and as time goes on, the quality stays. Like you'll go back and watch the good films that you like the most. That part of what made the entertainment value lasting is its openness to interpretation to a variety of situations.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, they had to be entertaining. They had to bring in the audience. I don't know if anybody's seen Barbie, but I mean that's a really politically charged movie, isn't it? I mean there's a lot going on there. I mean because I don't know Marvel movies. I did see Barbie. I haven't seen. But no, it's true that there's both the entertainment value, but something in there as well. I mean, there's people talk about these plays as both reflecting societal values, but also shaping them in some way. There's something going on whether you recognize it or not. Evan.
So I want to hop back on what Christopher was saying. Was that whenever you were talking about the emotional, the emotions of it, I think you're neglecting the fact that the power differential between the two groups played a portion of that motion. That could not be ignored in the conversations that were had. You have to understand that one group had all the power and one group had nothing. So you still have that emotion at play that represents the power struggle that's going on. It's not just about the diamond mines, it's about the way the diamond mines affect these people's lives.
Yeah, yeah. You want Christopher? I don't mean to leave everybody. Well,
Sorry, I started.
yeah, you all take this up. You all no. One more comment about this, then we'll see. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, there's absolutely that figure that goes into it, right? But I feel like putting all of the weight on that is kind of one-dimensional, right? We don't fight wars, well, we do fight wars purely for oil and such, but there's an emotional aspect to a slave revolt, for example, right? I mean, this is kind of a strange example, but if slaves thought of revolting purely from that economic standpoint that these people have all the power, they have all of the cotton fields or whatever, then they wouldn't revolt. There's an emotional aspect that has to go into it. Emotions speak louder oftentimes than the economic and, I don't know, mechanistic structure of society, in my opinion.
Nicely said, everybody. I think these are great issues. Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about a lot, like drawing a line between justice and revenge, and like where you would stop doing like logic and emotion. But for the Greeks, justice and revenge are the same person. Nemesis is the blind lady with the scales, and she's the goddess of vengeance. Like there wasn't a lot of differentiation then, and I think as like society has grown more quote unquote structured, we'd like to make it now. But I think that like it all harkens back, and at some point there is no real line to be drawn between what we're doing out of logic and what we're doing out of emotion.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, Aeschylus's trilogy ends up by taking things out of this very family revenge-based and establishing a trial, a jury that's going to decide guilt or innocence. I mean, so we're talking about the Greeks having no distinction between justice and revenge. Certainly in the mythical heroic period we're talking about, and then things start changing. There's even in Euripides' Orestes, a play that deals with some of these. There's a guy who says to Orestes, she should have died. Clytemnestra deserved to die, but you should have taken her to court, or you should have, taken her through which is ridiculous. It's anachronistic. There wasn't such a thing then. But the juxtaposition of those two ideas, I think, is interesting. Yeah.
We're talking originally about rules, and playing with justice, of course, being a massive theme throughout all of it. We have the common conventional wisdom today of an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. But there is a line in the play that is, if justice comes for you, you'll be the first to die.
Yeah. That's right. Clytemnestra doesn't like that, does she? That's where she turns sharply, I remember, on the stage. It's great, yeah.
How would you weigh that in? With the eye for the eye that we understand now, is that the wrong that I may have done to you may have been slight on my part, extreme for you. And if your response isn't kind to how you felt it, then it's a feedback cycle of everything.
It just keeps going on and on and on and on.
How do you feel that impacted the Greek version of justice in this heroic mythical age of snowballing disaster?
This gets right at the heart of Aeschylus's Oresteia, the trilogy, because he's got 3 plays to deal with this cycle. 2 people are dead on the stage at the end of the first play. 2 people are dead on the stage at the end of the second play. 2 people are involved in a murder, or we expect maybe there will be 2 people to die in the third play. Is this ever going to come to an end? It just goes on and on, because it's true. I mean, even at the end of the first play, Agamemnon, the chorus says to Clytemnestra, yeah, I see what you did. You were paying him back for a murder by killing Agamemnon. But if you live by that rule, then it's the same line. You're next. And Clytemnestra says, no, that's all over now. We're done with all that. But it's the third play in that trilogy where it moves outside of that cycle of vengeance into a judicial context that at least formally ends that whole cycle of revenge. And so they were very much aware of that, very much thinking about that. Now, other plays deal with it differently. You know what a deus ex machina is, a god coming in at the very end. We don't have it in Sophocles. Euripides has gods come in and say, I mean, things look like they're just spinning out of control, and a god comes in and says, nope, everything's over, everything's fine. You marry him, you go to this town, and everybody be happy. And the play ends. Whether we're satisfied with that or not is another question. But that's one way of dealing with it. Yeah. I think what that does is it leaves us with the idea that, yeah, this continuation is a problem. It doesn't really solve anything. But did you have a question?
We're going to have to, unless there's a burning question, do you have a burning question you want to ask? And then you give the last question. Well, just do it.
Okay. So I had a question about this production specifically. So what do you make of the fact that the makeup of the chorus, the fact that there's 6 women and only 1 man? Because it seems like there is some gender dynamics that are kind of in play with this one specifically, the way Electra takes charge with the weapon and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one answer is an easy answer is that these women are part of a chorus of, I don't speak Kosa, I can't do the clicks, but it's, yeah, there you go. They're part of a traditional choir that acts together, and so she brought them in sort of wholesale to do this. And this guy he's got a musical instrument that accompanies them. That doesn't get at the question at all. I mean, who's the chorus in Sophocles' Electra? They're women. And what's the attitude of those women? I mean, are they sympathetic to Electra, Clytemnestra? But you're what? Mediators, yeah, mediators. So not entirely on Electra's side, yeah. I don't know, how important is it that in a play about, well, really that's taking the side of Electra through most of it, that the chorus, kind of the representative of the community, be female as well? Could they be male? I don't know. It's a possibility. I mean, I think this is probably not only the fact that there was this chorus existing she wanted to use, but also drawing on the ancient plays. There were always female choruses in these plays, for whatever reason. But you could put on a version with a male chorus and see what it does. How about that? For next year, there you go. Okay. That's right. Okay. All right. Well,